Hello, hello. This is Sheri from the Kaye Hoff Show, where we focus on living joyfully in your life and business. You can reach us at sherikhoff.com. That's SherikayehOff.com.
Let me tell you about my beautiful guest. Tracy Lynn Wallace is a self-love mentor, life coach, speaker, and published author. Her mission is to support others in discovering their personal power through self-love and forgiveness. Through her own personal experience, Tracy has discovered how limiting and false beliefs have kept her from living a life of love, peace, happiness, and abundance. She has created meditations, courses, and written books, which can assist you in finding your way back to your true, authentic self. Welcome, Tracy. I'm excited for our conversation. How are you?
Hi, Sheri. Good. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be a guest on your fabulous show.
Well, we're going to have a really good time. And today we are talking about managing stress through self-care. So let's just jump right in. So one of your important points that you like to talk about are one of them is achieving balance. So what do you mean by balance? Because people mean different things when they use the word balance.
Yeah. So I like to look at our overall energy or life as a table with four legs, right? So you've got the physical, the emotional, psychological, the spiritual, and then the professional. And so as long as those four legs are in balance, then life functions a lot smoother. And so, when I talk about physical, as we know, personal, fitness, diet, but it also means being able to, put on something that feels good when you're wearing a nice, new outfit or whatever. And then we've got the emotional and psychological, which is truly honoring what you're feeling and being able to identify it and just not abandoning yourself. So really identifying the emotions that you're experiencing that time, regardless of what other people have going on or how they're going to respond. And then, of course, the spiritual aspect of it, which is being connected to, for some people, it's something greater than you. So higher power, God, whatever. For some people, it could be a deceased relative. For some people, it can be nature or Mother Earth. And just having that connection to knowing that there's an energy that's greater than us. And then the professional, which is, as a business owner, working inside the home or outside of the home. And this goes for stay-at-home moms. I used to be a stay-at-home mom. And so I know that was work, and just being able to remain connected and learn as you go along. That's part of feeding that professional side of yourself, is how to become a better business owner, employee, mother, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And I can remember my youngest is in college, so I'm a little out of that stage, but I remember it being particularly challenging when, I had 3 kids at home at one time and 3 grown-up kids. And I would just kind of lose myself a little bit. I would be giving to work and I'd be giving to the kids. And I remember one time wondering, why am I so tired? And then I looked at my schedule and I didn't even have enough hours for everything I had already packed in my day. And I thought I could be doing more, but there was no room to put anything. But I'm glad I had that moment of realization, because then I made massive adjustments and shifted how I looked about schedule and how I look at balance. But one thing I think, sometimes people think you have to be balanced all the time. So what do you think about this concept that it's okay to not be balanced in a given moment? Because sometimes we have to push for a deadline. And it's, we don't need to be totally, all those 4 legs perfect every day, but as long as over time we're acknowledging that. So how do you help people maintain that? Because, when you do have times when there's just no way to be perfectly balanced. So what's the secret sauce to maintaining that?
Yeah, actually, I look at it kind of like an equalizer. When you're looking at an equalizer, it's constantly moving as the music's playing. And that's sort of how we roll through life. And one of my all-time favorite movies, which is Eat, Pray, Love, one of the lines at the end of the movie, he says, sometimes you need to lose balance in life to gain balance in love. And that line always stuck with me because it's kind of permission to just be okay to feed one thing and let go another thing. And eventually it balances out as long as you're maintaining that. But I think the key is just continuing to check in with ourselves and see how we're feeling. Because there's times where it's like, oh, okay, I've got to get dinner together for the family, whatever, but I'm exhausted. And it's just going, you know what? Sorry, ordering pizza. I'm going to go lay down for a little bit. Or I've got a deadline that needs to be, something that needs to be taken care of. It's not due until next Friday. My mind is like, I want to get it done. I want to get it done. I'm going to let it go. And I'm going to regroup and then conquer it again. And one of the things that's kind of interesting, because my husband, he's a Virgo, and he's very, organized and just thorough and a perfectionist. And, he'll be like, I've got to do this and this. And he tends to force himself to get it done. And when I say, just let it go, honor yourself. And then the next day, it's like he's got the energy and the strength and the creativity to power through something that takes him an hour that the day before would have taken him 2 hours, because he's fighting for the right words, or, you're just not running optimally is what I'm saying. And so be able to honor yourself so that you can run optimally.
That's beautiful. My favorite line from Eat, Pray, Love, and I was watching the movie with my husband, is when he says to her, you don't need a man, you need a champion. And my husband looked at me and he goes, oh man, he just ruined it for all the men in the world. He's like, I better step up my game.
Exactly.
I mean, there were many just amazing lines, but I really loved that one.
Yeah, that is funny. And honestly, it's like you do need a champion, but you get to be your own champion. Because when we're our own champion, like, then we're okay. Because we're not looking at other people to meet our needs. And that goes back to this whole thing about managing stress and being the one that has our own back.
Yeah, I love that. So we've kind of just sort of naturally moved into the next piece, and that is time management and empowerment. So, kind of looks like we're starting with balance, to get ourselves centered and kind of that equilibrium, and then looking at time management and empowerment. So what do you have to say about that?
So one of the things for me is being the manager of your own time, right? So we let so many things outside of us control us and move us. And, we're just these lost fish in this current. And we can get so caught up in that of like, this needs to be done, that needs to be done. And the business that I had before is in international education, where I dealt with a lot of international students that were being placed here and with host families. And the amount of calls I get, which were just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. The student's out. And like, I haven't heard back from them. And when you let things just kind of pan out and you don't feed the fire, 3 hours later, okay, like he just was at the library and whatever it is. And it's just, I watch people get into such a frenzy of, I need it now. Like, I need you to call me back now. I need this to happen now. And the question I always ask myself is anybody dying and is anything on fire? Because really, everything always works out. I'm such a firm believer and everything works out the way it needs to. And so being able to be the manager of your own time, setting boundaries for yourself, for somebody like myself who grew up as a people pleaser, I didn't want to upset anybody. So I would overextend myself, and I didn't know the word no. As I've gone through this whole process, and that's one of the big things I teach is no is a complete sentence. It is. And it's okay to say no, because everybody has an opportunity in this life to figure out how to make things work, whether or not you're picking up all the slack or doing something that they need you to do. And also that's saying, don't do for others what they could do for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard that, but that's like a big thing in the 12-step recovery program.
Yeah. I saw a quote the other day that said something. I'm not going to get the quote exact, but it was, people pleasers. When you're people pleasing, you're really going through an unmet need in yourself. And I loved that. And so I grew up a people pleaser too. I wanted everybody to be happy all the time. And if people weren't happy, it was my fault. And what could I do to, make my parents happy when they came home from work and they just were stressed from work, and somehow I had to make them happy. And they didn't put that on me. And so when I feel that tendency now to try to make everyone happy, I ask myself, okay, what is the need that I'm not meeting for myself that I feel like I have to do this? So the need might be, maybe I need to turn some music on and dance, or maybe I need to do some stretching, or maybe I just need to take a nap like you suggested. And so I just think that's something really good for people to take a look at, instead of how do I stop people pleasing, looking, it's always mirroring back to ourselves and what's going on within. So yeah. Well, we're talking about some really good stuff here today. I'm loving it. So you also say acceptance. And to me, I think that is truly when I could accept, that I couldn't control what my kids did, when I couldn't control what my husband was doing, and, was in total acceptance, and even total, like COVID, I think what a ultimate test of acceptance, like, something totally out of our control. And being in that place of acceptance then gives you a starting point for everything else. And really all is right with the world when you are in acceptance. So technically all the time, all is right with the world all the time because you're in acceptance.
The magic words, if only everybody could believe that.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Another 12-step slogan, let go and let God. When I'm struggling with acceptance, I like to kind of throw that in there, journal around it, because, our misery in life really comes from mostly resistance. And, we're in resistance instead of acceptance. So how do you walk people through being more accepting?
That's such a tough one. It really is, because we have a tendency to want to control everything, control outcomes, control people, control circumstances, control their destiny. And it's truly this control aspect of ourselves. And so, the solution to all our problems is acceptance. It really is. Because if we can just accept what is, then everything loses its grip on us. My daughter lives in California, and she was moving into another house, but she had a temporary intermediate move that she had to do. And I was going to fly out there and rent a truck and move it. And the morning I was supposed to drive out there, I woke up and I just was like emotionally exhausted. I had this fear coming over me because I was like, I had to drive a moving truck, and her driveway was I was going to have to, anyways, I just was like, I can't, I'm not in a place to do this. And so I called her up and I was just like, honey, I am so sorry. I can't do it. You've had some friends offer, can you get your friends together and help you move? And she was so sweet. And she's like, Mom, she goes, I know you are not doing good when you cancel out of anything. Like, I know you're just not in a good place. And I honored myself, and she did too. She didn't just be like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And I can't believe you're not going to, she was just like, Mom, just take care of yourself. And so I had to accept what I was going through and not being able to be there for my daughter. And it was just basically like turning it over to the universe and just, I know it's going to all work out. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would say to the listeners is just trusting, like it always all works out. Everybody is who they need to be. Everybody behaves the way that they need to. We're all just actors in a play, and people come into your life for a reason. And, just like you were talking about, being able to, they're mirroring us, right? They're mirroring what we need. And so when you start to look at things from a deeper and more spiritual, and I know that word's kind of iffy for people, but for me, it's for a reason. When you can look at things from more that spiritual viewpoint and know there's an underlying spiritual reason for everything, it makes it so much easier to let go. And, for those people who are dealing with somebody, they can't control, and he makes me so mad, and my husband ticks me off, or my wife is, I don't like the way she does this. I've got one of the best sayings in the world to say to anybody who's listening that is in that situation: get off their back, get out of their way, and get on with your life. And that little tidbit of advice is so freeing. It's so freeing because nobody knows what's best for somebody else than them or their connection with their higher power, or whoever that may be.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. So you mentioned spirituality, which is a big, fun topic for me, and I've loved to talk about it and, be in it and be helping people discover it. But we kind of led into this next topic that we're going to talk about here today, and that's ways to feed your soul. So how do we feed our soul?
Yeah, I mean, feeding your soul is basically anything that brings you enjoyment. And the best way to do it is, we've got this little inner child inside of us that just, all they know is just joy and curiosity and happiness and wonderment. And it's like, when you can feed that part of yourself, it's so beautiful, and it's freeing, and it just opens up a whole nother world. I mean, literally, if you just go back to that place of curiosity and in wonderment, I mean, through the eyes of a child, right? So I used to get the butcher paper on our dining room table, and I put it, when we had our meals, and bring out the markers and the crayons, and we'd all sit, we'd eat, and then we just colored on the placemat, my kids and I. And it was just one of those moments where it's like, I got to be a kid. I bought a Lego building set the other day, and I was just like, I don't know why, I just want to build something. So it was a Lego beach house, and my kids, they kind of tinker with it, but it was for me to be able to feed my soul, going out into nature, going to, asking yourself, like, if I was a little kid right now, what would be good? If it's buying a box of Lucky Charms cereal, if it's coloring in a coloring book, dancing, like you were talking about. I love dancing. I love turning on ABBA and dancing in my kitchen. I have my own dance party, and it's just, it just brings me alive. It really does. So everybody's so serious. Everybody takes life so seriously, and we just need to give ourselves time to nurture our soul and to feed that little inner kid in us.
Well, you've brought up so many important ways to practice self-care. And, the way that you talk about things, I think, are just so, you bring it home and you make it real for people. So I really appreciate that. So tell us how people can find you. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah. So my website is inspiredwisdomcoaching.com. That's inspiredwisdomcoaching.com. And you can find out all about me and the services I offer. And I'm, have a really super affordable coaching program for those that want support and can't really swing it. That's sort of my calling right now, is just making it available to people that normally wouldn't be able to get it.
Okay. I love that. So when we reflect back over our conversation that we've had here today, what's the one or two things that you think people should take home and really, maybe meditate on or make part of their life or part of their practice right away?
I think the biggest thing is just getting people to understand that nobody is going to treat us better than we can treat ourselves. Because when we don't love ourselves, nobody can ever love us any more than that. It's just very hard because we are at that vibration. And when you're not honoring yourself, you can't expect somebody else to honor you.
Oh, that is gorgeous. Gorgeous. And you also have a free gift for our listeners. So how can people get that? I know people can get it from going to my website, sherikhoff.com, but tell us where they can find it on your website as well.
Yeah. So directly on my website, it's inspiredwisdomcoaching.com/free-book.html. That's inspiredwisdomcoaching.com/free-book.html. I know it was kind of long, but they can find it through you.
And tell them a little bit about it. Like what does this free gift do for them?
Yeah. So I was doing a series called Awaken Your Magic Within. And I put together this little intro book, which is basically kind of a starting point for understanding limiting and false beliefs and paradigms that kind of are the captains of our ship and navigate us through life. So it's just a little teaser of understanding a little more. And once you break through those systems, it's kind of you knock down barriers that keep you from getting more of what you want.
Oh, well, I just encourage everyone to grab that. It sounds like a wonderful resource. And I want to thank you once again, Tracy, for being here with us today. You've given us so many great tips and ideas to think about. So I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Sheri, so much. This was so wonderful, and I'm happy to be here.
I invite you to visit sherikhoff.com for more free gifts and more episodes of the Sheri K. Hoff Show. And I want to wish you a good morning, good evening, good afternoon, no matter where you're listening in the world today. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
This episode is sponsored by the Living Your Vision course for creating your optimal life. This course is for creating and fulfilling your dream. Make your dreams your reality instead of a someday idea. Set your vision for your life in motion. Move from trying to be just a little bit better and shift to deliberately creating the life you want at the level you want. Most people are not purposely thinking small. They just have never considered or allowed themselves to think bigger or even on an epic level. Even big thinkers, perhaps you're one of them, often say, I just don't have time to devote to developing a detailed vision of how I want my life to be. What's stopping you from creating your vision the way you really want it? What if you let go of anything that is stopping or blocking you? What if you stepped into your creative zone and designed a compelling vision that drove all of your daily habits and decisions? You can check out the Living Your Vision course at sherikhoff.com. That's SHERIKAYEHOFF.com. And you'll want to go to the coaching and courses tab.